play their parts and contribute, and also get credited and make sure everybody's credited where it's necessary, because that goes a long way. But that's one aspect of that, letting go of the ego, is being able to delegate and work with people, and then also ask for feedback. If I'm if I'm here and I'm mixing and Tevin's in the room, I'm going to look to him and be like, "Yo, what do you think?" And I'm going to listen to what he says. I may or may not, take his advice because, I'm the one who was hired to mix the song. I have more experience, but I don't bring people in whose opinions I can't trust, because I need to know, okay, maybe I'm just having an off day and I'm going down left field, and he might be like, Green, that vocal a little hot, it's distorting. It's like, oh man, I'm sitting here looking at the snare drum. I'm not even thinking X, Y, and Z. I need somebody there next to me who I trust and I know is going to keep me right, because I'm not perfect. I'm very human, and having people around you to keep you on point is important. We can't do it all.
Yeah, I love that. It's so cool. When were you at a stage in your career that you felt, I'm ready to bring in other people to kind of help me with these things? Because I feel like, you do have to spend money to have somebody help you with your emails and setting up sessions. Like, when was that moment for you that you realized, like, okay, I have enough work, or I need to do, or this is going to allow me to do enough work to pay, I don't know.
Yeah.
What does that moment look like?
It's definitely kind of a leap of faith, because it's like, okay, now I'm going to take the money that I worked hard to earn and I'm going to give it to somebody else. But it got just when I found myself starting to fall behind. I hate to miss a deadline. It eats at my soul. It's like, that's we do all the things, be as creative as we want to be, but you would need to deliver that thing on time. That's the deal, And so when you start falling behind, phone starts ringing, or texts start coming in, like, yo, what happened to that thing? My stress levels can't take that. So when that started happening, I was busy enough, and it's like, okay, we're doing multiple albums at a time, but I'm spending so long just importing files, making sure the mono files are really mono, the stereo all like just like the little nitpicky stuff. I find myself being like, man, I don't want to be doing this anymore. Well, maybe it's time to find somebody who wants that experience, who wants, to get their foot in, and let them do that. And then you can bring them along, because, like, you do have to start somewhere. Like, it's important to assist. It's important to play a secondary role so you can learn how important all the details are, right? Like, if I send you on a food run and you come back and everybody's sandwich order is all messed up, well, how am I going to trust you to take over the engineering and record these vocals? You got yellow mustard on my sandwich. I asked you for brown mustard, or whatever it is, and like just those little details. But those are the things where it's like, okay, if every time the coffee order is flawless, I know clearly you got that. Well, let's move to the next step. But attention to detail.
Yeah, attention to details.
It's critical for every single thing that we do.
Right, that's what we're hired for, right?
That's what we're hired for. And people didn't want to pay attention to recording levels and all that, all the little details. They just do it all themselves, right? So we're there to make sure that the little detailed parts are what they need to be, and that's what assisting taught you, and that's what assisting taught me. I didn't do the traditional route of going to a big studio, but I assisted on plenty of sessions with the staff at Berklee, with the professors and all that. And I got my ass kicked and all that kind of stuff. And now, I stay razor sharp because I know what the expectations are. And so, I train my staff in the same way. And then eventually they go on to do other things, and they go on to be engineers on their own right and do different things. And then it's like, all right, dope.
Yeah.
I got them ready, for what they want to do. Because no one wants to be an assistant for their life. Like, I didn't come in like, I want to be an assistant engineer until I'm 80. Like, no. But I want people who want to come up in the industry to be trained right, because the process is important to me.
Yeah, and not only are they going to be doing the kind of menial tasks that you're less inclined to want to do, but they're also going to be learning secondhand from all the other things that you are doing. And it's like an insight into your worldview and how you work on music, and that could be massive.
That's such a big part of it, and especially with the YouTube university culture that we live in. And I do plenty of tutorials on YouTube. Search and I do all kinds of stuff, and I'm very active there. I always hope to imply, and if I don't imply it, let me specifically say it here now. Everything needs to be taken with a grain of salt. I will tell you, I might do a video. Here's how you mix a rap vocal. Okay, cool, but the underlying tone should be a rap vocal of this style. Like, I don't really do the melodic auto-tuned rap thing, right? That's just not the part of the world that I work in. So I can't give a tutorial on that. So the techniques that I might be showing may be applicable over here, but not for that melodic thing. But you see so many people take what they hear on YouTube as gospel and say, well, there's a YouTube video and they said to use this much compression and this kind of EQ on vocals. And so this is what I do on every song. Well, how is one EQ curve going to work on every vocal in the world? That doesn't make any sense. We're sitting like, this is a podcast. So people are going to listen. They're going to hear your voice. They're going to hear my voice. Our voices sound different. That's how they know that you're not talking to yourself, right? So how could the EQ curve just work for both of us when our voices are different? It's impossible. So you have to learn not just what they did, but why they did it and how you apply that to what you do. And that experience, that's what you learn in the room with somebody and not just from watching another video. Because if you watch 2 of my videos, I'm going to do things probably in similar ways because it's all me, but that might not be right for your song. So don't listen to me. If it works for you, cool. If not, it's just the way that I work. And I don't, as much information as I give and I teach, I'm teaching at SUNY Purchase now, and I'm telling I want to bring it to the students where this is what I do and this is why I'm doing it. So when it's your time to do something, think about this technique and take the parts of it that apply to what you're trying to do and leave the rest. And then the next time, maybe the other parts will work and that other thing that you did won't. But it's about critical thinking. It's not plug and play presets and then you have a record. Yeah. If it were that easy, we'd all be rich and famous and I'd be talking to you from my private island right now.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. The thought process is the most important part. And I think it's easier to latch on to he used the 1176, when you're getting started because it's just easier to relate to, I think. So, and as you go down the line, as you work in this longer, you realize that really, why did he or she use that particular plugin,
Right. Because even beyond, in the video, she used 1176 and set this attack and release time and this, whatever. So I'll do this every time. But maybe there's a specific reason she even chose that compressor. Never mind the settings on it. But, 1176 is not going to work for everything. It's a great compressor. It's going to work for a lot of stuff. It's not going to work for everything. Yeah. So then what do you do? Because all you know is in the video, they pulled up that one. So, we're given so much information that we don't always look at it from a far view and try to understand how to implement it. And then of course people are skeptical about things that they don't need to be. I don't know where people pick and choose to be skeptical or just take the information and apply it as law is just a very weird human thing that I don't always understand.
Yeah. Hey everyone, you may have heard me mention before that I recently started a Discord server for the podcast. If you want to join the conversation over there, you can find a link in the show notes or on the homepage of this podcast at secretsonics.co. In the coming days, I'm going to be sharing a sample pack there with some of my own personal samples that I use all the time in my productions. This pack will only ever be shared on the Secret Sonics Discord server, so I hope to see you there soon. All right, back to the episode. It's also weird with YouTube because there's just so much content. It's almost like music today, right? Like we used to, I remember going to buy CDs and deciding carefully which CD I wanted to spend the money on because I didn't, it wasn't infinite, right? And then when you did buy that CD, you became super attached to it. Like when I bought Bush 16 Stone and I spun that CD for, hours and hours and hours, I knew every moment of that record, and it was a super important record for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And, because I purchased it and I invested my time in it, I learned it, and it was more important to me. And that's something that I think is like super missing these days, when you literally can just like, that's that attention thing. Or you're shifting your attention from this to that. Like, it all becomes much more meaningless,
It does. Like, if you can have all of the art in the world, does it then still have value?
Right, exactly.
I argue yes, but I'm an artist and I love art and creation of things in a way that like your average consumer doesn't think about it in that same way. Like, my wife is an art historian, so we spend a lot of time in museums and all kinds of, so like I have a different appreciation for it than, just casual listener. But when you can have anything at any old time, the lack of scarcity about it reduces the impact of it. It reduces the importance of it because we take it for granted. Like if tomorrow the internet stopped, which some people might love, but if there was no internet tomorrow, what music would you listen to? Right? If you couldn't just stream whatever song, what would you listen to? And I've got records and I still have all my CDs and all kinds of stuff. A lot of people might just not listen to music because they don't have a way to do it, but they don't have a collection. They don't have the things that they love at their fingertips. They haven't embraced them as like, I need to have this thing. I love it. And so it's all very fleeting. And if it were to go away, it's just gone. You don't have that relationship, that personal relationship to it.
Yeah. It's hard to do that in these days, this day and age. Actually, I want to segue because of that into Press Play, which I checked out, and that was a cool little documentary also with it. Do you mind sharing a little bit about that project with the audience? Because it's super cool.
No, I'd love to. And yeah, that goes right into the things that we're saying and what I'm thinking about next. So Press Play was a project I did, so many pandemic years. I don't know how many years ago.
I think it was 2019 based on what I saw.
I think it was 2019. So in the before times for sure. It's a
BC.
Yes. It was a project that I did where I sampled paintings. So I partnered with this gallery in Manhattan, the Massey Klein Gallery, and I chose some paintings from their collection, and basically I got digital images of these paintings, and with the software called Sonic Photo, I converted those JPEGs into sound. It would analyze the image and the shape of lines and the intensity of colors or lack of colors will create different sounds. And so I created a piece. It's 10 songs where each song corresponds with a particular painting. Or there's one or two textiles in there. So a particular piece of visual art, and every sound in the song had to come from the painting. So I synthesized drums, bass, keyboard sounds, pads, everything was instrumental projects. There were no vocals, and everything had to come from that painting. Once I had those sounds, I could manipulate them in any way. So that's, I would take a piece, tune it down real low, make it short, and that would become my kick drum. But then I could take that, I could distort it, I could run it through whatever audio effects I want to run it through because it's still based on the sound from the painting. And so I composed 10 songs to go with these paintings. And then we did an installation where you would go in the gallery and the painting will be hanging in front of you and there's a pair of headphones next to it. And so you put on the headphones and you can listen to the painting or my interpretation of the painting that's right in front of you. And it's
awesome.
Thank you. It's an interesting thing in the in the gallery because I don't know how much time you spend in museums, but I go to museums and you might look at a painting for 30 seconds, maybe a minute if it like really strikes you. And standing somewhere staring at something for 45 seconds is actually a very long time, right? To just be still and be quiet and look. Like we sat here for 45 seconds of dead air. Your listeners would start looking at their phones like, yo, the podcast stopped playing. What, you know what I mean? Like 45 seconds doesn't sound long, but it's actually a very long time. but I was composing 2 or 3 minute pieces to go with each painting. And I talked
songs, you know?
Yeah. And I talked to the gallery owners and I talked to